that yes, let me start the day with a feel-good factor. Feel-good factor is very, very common to human beings when they are in love. When we are in love, we are awash with serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin. We just feel good for nothing. You think of her or you think of him, suddenly you feel good. The wind that flows is full of her fragrance, and every flower smells like her. Every piece of glass shows you her picture. That is when you are in love. You feel good. But to me, love is just a sublime word for a physical manifestation, for a chemical reaction that goes integral to human beings. Keep that apart. We all human beings go through a continued period of feel good. Irrespective of class, creed, gender, social or political differences, every human being goes through a period called childhood. Childhood is so beautiful. That is why a very beautiful poem written by Sudarshan Kamra and sung by Jagjit Singh and made immortal, which says, "A shorat bhi le lo, a daulat bhi le lo, भले छीन लो मुझसे मेरी जवानी, मगर मुझको लौटा दो वो बचपन की सावन." I hope you have heard this song, this ghazal by Jagjit Singh. It says, "Take my wealth away, take my fame away. If you need, snatch my youth from me, but return to me my childhood. Give me that monsoon rains and that paper boat." What is common to childhood, or the best part of childhood, is that we all get to hear stories. Again, irrespective of the place that you're born in, we all get to hear stories from someone. And all childhood stories start with the term "once upon a time." Now, those of you who are skeptical would say, "Tumhara baap to Angrez nahi tha. Your father was not an Englishman. So how did your granny speak once upon a time?" Yes, my granny never spoke English. She didn't know English at all. But she would tell me, "Pandu pandu videshatha." For a Punjabi, it is bahut purani galti. For a person who speaks Hindi, he would say, the granny would say, "Bahut saal pehle ki baat hai." For a German nanny, it would be "Es war einmal." But all stories started with this thing, "once upon a time." There's a reason for this. Every child was left to imagine the distance that he wanted to travel backwards and create a fantasy world. But what was not left for imagination was the end. All stories ended in happy terms. The king and the queen lived ever happily after. The prince found the princess. The kingdom went on to do well. So all childhood stories actually was, from the beginning to the end, threaded by optimism. We all have a small little child in each one of us. Today, on a beautiful Saturday evening, let me put my hand and touch your child in you and tell you my story, once upon a time. My story starts with once upon a time. When I was a little boy, I was walking around and talking to people, disturbing people, asking countless questions. My elders would tell me, "Go mind your business." What they told me was, in Malayalam, "Sondam pani nokan." I mean, everything about mind was about sight. For a child, his mind was what he saw. My grandmother, my mother's mother, and my mother, very pious people, told me, "Son, you must be mindful of others." What they told me was, "Don't disturb them. They'll feel hurt. Don't you feel their pain?" So for a child, when I was a child, mind on another's plane was heart. But my father, very ambitious, very driving, very strict man. He told me that you must have a mind of your own. I was told that you must think. So for a child of 3 or 4 or 5, there was a confusion between what was the mind. Was it the thought? Was it the sight? Or was it the heart? I continued with this confusion for many, many years. Till 1976, when I was sitting in a classroom in Fatima College, we had one of the most exceptional teachers, very handsome teacher. His name was Professor Lawrence Michael. He explained to me, to the class in fact, a new concept called the orbital arrangement of an atom. According to him, an atom had a nucleus around which in 4 orbitals, S, P, D, and F, electrons moved. Suddenly, the light went on. I said, that is the mind. I was the nucleus, and my mind is all about me, S, P, D, F. For me, the F was fear, F was faith, F was future. So the outermost orbital was the fuel of fear, my faith, and my worry about my future led to the next orbital, that was D. D was for determination. More I had fuel, more determined I was. The more determined I was, the more persistence I had. The more persistence I had, the more successful I became. Ladies and gentlemen, I realize everything in life is about mind. And today, I'm talking to a group of people who call themselves a brand of masterminds. A brand called Mastermind. Now, whether you masterminded your own destiny, you masterminded the destiny about those around you, or the companies you worked in or headed, I don't know. But for me, you're a brand called Mastermind. The term brand actually evokes a very different feeling in all of us. Brand started off with branding of animals and human beings. Those human beings were slaves. We have come a very, very long way. A small little hole in the wall organization, a salt to software conglomerate like Tata, they all have a brand. They vie for a brand, they live for a brand, they make money with brand. Recently, 2-3 months back, there was a beautiful piece of news which said Hindustan Unilever acquired the brand Horlicks from SPK, for a value of 3,045 crores. Imagine brand called Horlicks being sold for 3,045 crores. So I quickly checked out, my God, what is the actual value? Because this brand was sold only for India. You'll be surprised to know the value of brand Horlicks world over, it is $1.33 billion. So the natural question now is, are there other companies with brand value? I went to check around. Tata's has the highest brand value for any Indian company. With a total asset value of $7.5 trillion, Tata has a brand value of $20 billion. $7.5 trillion asset with a 20 billion brand value. So who would be second? You would think Reliance. No. Second is Life Insurance Corporation of India. Life Insurance Corporation of India, with mere $400 billion, has a brand value of $8.11 billion. Whereas Reliance Industries, with 7 trillion assets, has only 7.93 billion in their brand value. So how do people assess the brand value? How do they come to the brand value? There must be some method. You go onto the net, read, and you find as many agencies are there so many methods of calculating brand value. But essentially, they all come around three major elements, which lead to something called brand equity. Now, brand valuation through brand equity comes through three major elements. They are the market segment, the price differential, and the durability. The market segment, for example, you have a pen. All pens in the market, vis-a-vis other one pen that you're considering, that will exactly tell you what is the market share of that one pen. Now, compare it with the price differential. If that pen was costing rupees 10 and had a market share of 30%, and a pen which had 5 rupee cost had a market share of only 10%, then it speaks very high of the brand value of that pen. The last item on this is the most important, that is called durability. In other words, it is called brand loyalty. How long a person stays with the brand would decide how long the brand is turned over, or how long the brand is subscribed to. Brand equity comes from two major issues. They are called brand identity and brand image. Imagine yourself standing in front of a mirror. You are the true product. You are the actual product or service. What is being shown to the mirror is the brand identity that you're projecting. You will put paint, you will put color, you will dress up well. That is what you project. So brand identity is what is designed by the owner. He creates it, he designs it, he deploys it, he delivers it, and he markets it. A lot of work goes in this. That is where you have brand ambassadors, you have celebrity endorsements, basically to ensure that people see your item and associate your brand with some celebrity. But brand image is something different. Brand image is what you conceive, what you adopt, what you perceive about a product or service. That is not created. It is formed. It is felt. Brand image, therefore, is a mental feedback to all the consumers or customers. And all brand images come from a narrative. Now, what is the narrative? Narrative is back to a story. Every human being is a story in the making. And we all love stories. Good, bad, ugly, truth, untruth. Story is what drives us. Therefore, it is in the interest of the brand owner to create a narrative. Stronger the narrative, harder the impact, better the uptake. Let me tell you two beautiful narratives which go beyond normal product and services. I don't know how many of you have heard of a thing called stone of scone. You may know it as stone of destiny. You may also know it as stone of coronation. It was a red sandstone found somewhere in Ireland, lying somewhere. And a man called Fergus saw it. It had a small dip. And he said that this was the red sandstone which Jacob used, Jacob of the biblical fame, used to sleep. Therefore, it has got divine power. He brought it, became the king of Scotland, and sat on it and got crowned. Crowned. The next king also got crowned sitting on that stone. In 1296, when King Edward defeated the Scots in the battle, plundered the country, he went straight to the palace. And what did he go for? He went for this very stone. And the stone was taken in a huge procession back to England and kept in the Westminster Abbey. Ever since that day, all kings and queens of England have sat on that one stone and got crowned. That is the power of the narrative. But the story doesn't finish there. In 1950, 4 patriotic Scottish students stole this stone from the Westminster Abbey. While trying to take it out, it fell from their hand and broke. But they took it in pieces, went back to Scotland and covered in a Scottish flag and left in a church. But since Scotland was under the British crown, it was returned to them and no action was taken against these 4 students. In 1996, when John Major was Prime Minister of Britain, all of a sudden, they returned this stone back to Scotland, but with one condition, that whenever there would be a crowning for the throne of England, this stone will be brought back in a ceremony and again taken back. See the power of the narrative. This is one positive side. Now look at North Korea. North Koreans have been fed on a narrative that the Kim dynasty is directly from the sun god. Nobody else. Till eternity, it is that bloodline alone which is destined to rule North Korea. So if you create a strong narrative, right or wrong, ugly, truth, untruth, lies, and if you can drive it, that is what is a narrative. Now, how do you reinforce a narrative? You reinforce a narrative by associating certain attributes. If you remember, 6-7 months back, before the corona set in, there was a video which was running when we saw Kim, the current king of the emperor of North Korea, driving on a white stallion, or riding on a white stallion, going into the mountains, in snow-covered mountains. It was to enforce his narrative that he's going to get divine power. So if you can associate something along with this product of yours, the narrative, then people associate those good qualities. But there is also a need to dissociate or distinguish. That is what Kim does. Only I can go. Kim is supposed to kill a horse with his hands, or somebody jumps into a river and kills 2 crocodiles with his own hands. These are stories that is spread. One to associate and one to differentiate, to make the narrative big, strong. So when you get the product, when you get the service, when you enjoy the product or service, experience it, if it matches your narrative, your perception, then it is a positive brand image. If it doesn't, then it is a negative brand image. Once you have achieved a certain amount of confidence and comfort zone with this brand, you develop something called a brand loyalty. Brand loyalty will continue to be emphasized and enhanced if the positive images continue to be fed. If the negatives come in, brand loyalty starts going down. What I wanted to say was the personal experience that a person goes through is the best brand message. Let me give you a couple of personal examples. I was traveling, 4 of us, me, my wife, her brother and his wife, we were traveling through New Zealand. Whole day we were driving and finally we reached a place called Rotorua. One of us had fallen sick. So while checking in, I went to the front desk and said, one of us is sick and we need to check in fast. Ladies and gentlemen, the front desk of the hotel swung into action. Immediately, I think we were checked in very, very fast. I asked nothing more from them. What followed was very interesting. The manager on duty called up the person who was not well, asked him how he was. Somebody went to the room to find out how he was. Special meals were given to him to make him comfortable. As you know, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, even if you take air extra, you have to pay. Even drinking water, you have to pay. So we were prepared to pay. The third day when we were checking out, we were prepared to pay. So when I went to the counter, all this care they gave, the extra stuff they gave was not charged. Now for Indians, anything free is welcome. But for me, the service was something very, very impressive. So once I landed back in Kerala, I wrote a comment on Google and TripAdvisor on which I keep giving my reviews. Promptly, the hotel replied thanking me. So while I was reading the review, I found many bad reviews about the hotel. But what was impressive was even bad reviews from its clients or patrons were replied to. In some they said sorry. In some they offered to pay the money back. In some they offered, next time you please come stay here, we will offer you complimentary stay. That is how a hospitality brand was safeguarding its brand image. Now let me take you to a brand closer home. No names because I'm talking bad. Very famous brand of Kerala. Very well advertised. Everyday paper you will have some advertisement on the TV. And its MD and CMD or the boss is known to be very philanthropic, very vociferous in social causes. So seeing all this, I bought a product for my house. Because I believe the top man drives the brand. So that must be, the brand should be a reflection of his ideals, his beliefs, his value system. I bought the item. It worked one day till the day after the guarantee was over. That means, let's say on a Monday the guarantee finished, Tuesday it failed. So I looked onto the product, saw a call center number, I rang up. The call center number didn't pick up. I was told the number doesn't exist. Then I went on the net, found another number, I rang up that number. 30 or 40 calls must have gone over 2 days. Nobody even responded. Finally, I found the email ID and I sent a mail to the company. A system-generated response came immediately. I waited for 2 more days. It was a very crucial equipment for me, very crucial for me, an electronic control equipment. Then I sent a mail to the proprietor, personal mail. Again, I got an immediate response, but from the system. Till date, nobody ever asked me what happened to my product, to whom I sent the mail. But what caught my goat was, 3rd week after I put a complaint, one silly man gives me a call and says, the way he asked me, did you put a complaint? I say, yes. What is the complaint? I said, this is the complaint. Okay, we'll come tomorrow or day after tomorrow. I said, no, I don't need you. I already rectified it. Now comes the interesting part. He said, no, but you put a complaint, so I have to come. I said, for what? No, you have to pay me 450 rupees as my visiting fees. I said, if you come to my house, I'll break your teeth first, then your legs after that. He said, no, but I have to give a completion report to the company. I said, you come here, I'll break your teeth, I'll break your knees, then you can give a completion, and I'll put you in police station. After that, he didn't come. So see, a hospitality which had problems addressing both. You see another company, famous company locally, how it addressed its customer. Now, what I want to say is of another brand. I'll take its name because brand has no face. Brand has got no legs, but brand is a living thing. It's a living entity. It lives through the front edge, cutting edge of the brand. That are the people who work forward. I take this opportunity to take 3 names of a brand called Popular Hyundai. I am not marketing them. The person called Sanish, I have never met him. I never met him till date. When I was to buy a car, I was looking around. So I got this number and I called him up. I tried about 10, 12 different models of cars. So I spoke to him. He advised me. And I finally decided on a Hyundai Creta. And I didn't buy from Hyundai, popular Hyundai. I didn't buy from them. I bought from the canteen. But Sanish kept asking me, sir, anything I can do? So finally, I came back to Kerala. I came back to Kerala. I spoke to him, thanking him. For the first service, I went to their showroom in Adichara. There I met a man called Mr. Nidhin Nair. Now, this is how a brand runs. I don't know Nidhin Nair at all. I've never met him before. But the first time I met him, he won my heart. He talked to me as if he owned that service station or that facility at Adichara. He took my car. Now I don't have to worry about my car. I just give a call to Mr. Nidhin. I don't know if anybody from popular Hyundai is here, or you know somebody. I just call him up. I take my car. I don't worry. He may charge me X, Y, Z. I don't care. But that is the faith I have in this one man called Mr. Nidhin Nair. So popular Hyundai lives to these two people. No, I've not finished. I've had a bad experience with popular Hyundai. Last time I had a small little dent. I had to give it to for denting in another showroom of Hyundai near Kodimada. They took it, did everything, bought the car back. When the car came back, it was not cleaned. So I get a call from the company asking for my feedback. I said 0 out of 10. So they were shocked. I said, sorry, 0. And I gave my peace of mind. Now, how a company redeems, how a brand wins their confidence, how they keep the loyalty. One man called Mr. Akhil. I've never met him before. I never met him after. He rings me up and says, sir, sorry. So I asked him, are you the manager? He said, no. Are you the floor manager? No. What are you, sir? I am handling your car. I said, yes. I said, no, I don't want to give my car back. Another 15 kilometers I drive to you. Sorry, I don't want to give the car. He comes out with a new proposal. Sir, can I come and do it there in your house? I said, forget it, Akhil. I'm okay with it. He said, sir, please allow me to come and see the car. Mr. Akhil drives from Kodimada to Kumarnallur in a scooter, brings his stuff and does my car. I'm sure no manager or the owner of popular Hyundai have told him to do it. But this is what a brand image construct is all about. Though I have never met Sanish, I don't know Mr. Nidhin Nair personally before, I don't know Mr. Akhil before, but these three people have kept my faith in this brand. Now, how did that convert into a brand as profits or returns? Because whatever we do, we expect returns. Even shaking hands with somebody nowadays, we expect return from people. A good morning is given only if there is a return expected. You know, if you are from a different vertical, the junior most guy will not even look at you. But from your vertical, the guy whom you are reporting on will say, hello, sir, three times. Because there is an investment and there's a return. How do Sanish, Nidhin Nair, and Mr. Akhil help returns of popular Hyundai? Anybody who's asked me about any vehicle, I said, go to popular Hyundai. Don't go to any other popular, only go to popular Hyundai, because I had a bad experience. If anybody asks me, what do I buy for my house, for electronics, I said, don't go to that brand. If anybody asks me, where do I stay in New Zealand, I said, go to this chain of hotels. Now, what do? I'm enlarging the loyalty. I'm an unpaid brand ambassador. So the more ambassadors you create amongst your customers, That is the biggest investment. And that is how you create a brand loyalty. Brand loyalty doesn't come just like that. It doesn't come by talking. Brand loyalty comes from core values. Core values are seen across the organization. Every person in the organization is an embodiment of the actual core value practiced by the organization. Let me give another good example to you. Nobody is unfamiliar with Tata. The moment we say Tata, we all look up. Tata was established in 1874. When they were drawing up their vision or their purpose, somebody told Jamshedji Tata that the Tata Group must give back to society. Society must be a stakeholder. Ladies and gentlemen, this is written in the annals of Tata history. He said, society is not a stakeholder in Tata business. Society is the purpose for which Tata business exists. See the difference. He said, we are not here to give back. We are here for the society. Society is not the stakeholder in Tata business. Society is the purpose for Tata business. Ladies and gentlemen, most of the profits of Tata is cycled back into Tata and Son, which is a charitable trust, which funds huge social programs, unlike any other corporate in the country. That is why they say Tata leaders are men of steel. I have never worked for Tata. I don't know any Tata. But if you read them, they say Tata, the men, they are made of Tata men of steel, but heart of gold. If you go on to the value systems of Tata, there are 5 written values. It is called integrity, responsibility, excellence, pioneering, and unity. Forget all 4, the last 4, just the first one, integrity. If you read it, it says, in Tata's integrity must stand public scrutiny. Tatas don't hide. If there is an issue, they immediately address it. And it is not just for saying sake. In 1993, Ratan Tata was addressing the Association of Motor Part manufacturers, and he mooted the idea of having a fully Indian car. We all love to hear lectures. We hear from here and we take it out from here. They all clapped and went home. Ratan Tata didn't clap. He went home. In 1995, he announced that Tata will make a pure Indian car. Ladies and gentlemen, in 1998, Tata Indica was launched. In 8 days after launch, 1,15,000 fully paid bookings were received by Tata. That is the brand value. 1,15,000 fully paid bookings. But good things don't last for long. Within the first 3 weeks after delivery, Tata Indica started having problems. Many components had problems. So senior managers, senior functionaries of Tata Indica said, but that's not our problem. The vehicle is sold. Now it is on insurance. They should do it. Gentlemen, that is where integrity comes into play. Ratan Tata chaired a meeting in Mumbai and said, no. 45,000 cars were called back, retrofitted entirely at the expense of Tatas. And later, a new car, Indica V2, was launched with the tagline, even more car per car. And it sold 1 lakh pieces in less than 18 months. Why I said this is because a tagline, a slogan, a freebie may get you market for some time, but it doesn't buy you brand loyalty. I just want to give you one more brand. I'm sure each one of us heard about Indian Coffee House. Most of us think it is Kerala, it's a Kerala brand. No. Started in 1936 by the Coffee Cess Committee, purely for the British. By 1940, it had 50 outlets. The best part about this Indian coffee houses was it was not allowed for Indians. Indians were not allowed. But so India, it was India Coffee House, because it was coffee house in India for the British. In 1950, it was wound up. But like all good Keralites who will fight for our cause, our own comrade A.K. Gopalan said, nothing doing, we will run this. So he formed a cooperative headquartered in Jabalpur, of all places. And Indian Coffee House was born. Those of you remember having gone to the coffee houses in those times. Remember the well-attired stewards. They were not waiters, they were stewards. They had the beautiful white starched tunic, little canopy on the head. And that's the only place where a common man could eat with fork and spoon and knife. You ordered a dosa. It came with a fork and spoon and knife. It came in pure white crockery and sparkling stainless steel cutlery. That was the mark of the Raj. But if you now go to any Indian coffee house, you can see how it has fallen. A phenomenal brand deteriorating because the people who run the brand don't feel the value of the brand. Now, I've been speaking about items and products and services. My question to you is, can a human being be a brand? Can a human being become a brand? Most of you would think, how is it possible? I said, yes. Let me now give you 4 examples, because good things must be given examples. We know a brand called Doctor. Those times when we spoke of doctors, we were very, 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 very appreciative. We looked up to them always. Doctor means somebody very high. But I have seen actually godlike doctors. Let me now tell you people whom I respect and revere as doctors. 4 people. I'm sorry. Yeah. First is a lady called Dr. Veena Lal. She happened to be the wife of my boss. I was a staff officer. Any time of the day or night you could call up. Not me, anybody. She'll pick up the phone, listen. In fact, even today at her age, she's still doing charity work. For many, many years, I would only, even now, at times, I don't disturb her most of the time now, but I actually call her up and ask, so ma'am, and her diagnosis sitting far away, far in Delhi, is so accurate. And the medicine prescribed are so well taken. She is an embodiment of a value I consider for doctors. Now, another individual, Brigadier A.P. Radhakrishnan, Dr. A.P. Radhakrishnan. We both were colonels together in Secunderabad. I met him. Do you know, people would not go to anybody else, stand in line. There are 3 or 4 medical specialists, but they only go to him. He doesn't have this big biceps of a big man, very unassuming, very gentle, very pious man. Now in Kerala, I have a problem, I ring him up. He was in Aston Medicity. I would go all the way from Kottayam. If I have some major problem, I go there. I must have sent many people to him. He's moved to another hospital, I think Kinder Hospital. I go there, I send people there. That is the trust I have with him. Now, near home, there's another doctor, Dr. Geeta. She sees all veterans. She's a doctor in our clinic, in the ex-servicemen clinic. It's a treat to watch her. Morning 8 to evening 4, without break, maybe she takes a break for a meal. She's looking after people. That many people do. But even at 3:34, you go to her, she's still smiling, fresh, willing to listen to people. I've never, now it's 3 years plus, I've never ever seen her with a shriveled hair or looking anguished. Once I saw something interesting. I was driving from Rani. I was crossing by the clinic. I saw Dr. Geeta standing outside. So I stopped my car and I went and asked her, what happened? You know what she was doing? She had come out of her cabin to examine a patient, old man, who didn't want to get out of the car. Ladies and gentlemen, a brand called Doctor. But for me, there are 3 individuals. For me, they represent individual brands. So anybody has to go to ECHS, I would say go to Dr. Geeta. I'm sure she doesn't know it, but she would be getting more patients. I send patients to Dr. Radhakrishnan in Ernakulam, all the way from Trivandrum or Kollam or Kottayam. That is what a brand is. On the other hand, I know some doctors who are ashamed or a curse to the name called doctor. So the same brand, how we fulfill the role that we do is how we associate our character. Because these 3 people I spoke have a core value. I don't know what they have, but that is what drives them. Now the question is, if they can have a core value and they can become brands, why aren't we brands? Aren't we each individually a brand by ourselves? If you can consider yourself as a brand, what would be your core value? What would be that one USP which would differentiate you from everybody else around as a unique, special, beautiful brand? Has anybody thought of it? What is that one little thing that you promise? Because all brands are promises of delivering something. What is that one little virtue, one core value, which will drive you to deliver something? Have you ever thought of it? Ladies and gentlemen, many of us will say, oh, life is short and this and that. Even one act in a play can make you a star. You don't have to be all through the movie to become the hero. You don't have to be the lead to be the most impactful character. Each one of us can become a brand, provided today, sitting here, if you can decipher what is your core value and write down a promise that what you want to deliver to the society, by tomorrow morning, you would have become a brand. You would have launched a new brand. Brand Pradeep, brand Bharath, brand Ramani, brand Thomas. Each one can be a huge brand. I'll get back to the point of mind. Most of you are mind masters. And each one of us has a mind of our own. Everything that we do is from here, and everywhere. The SPDF orbital. Ladies and gentlemen, if you remember, I started with the story saying, once upon a time, there was a brand called this. Let people, after so many years after you leave, let them say that there was a brand called so-and-so. Leave something for posterity to say, yes, that was the brand. While I was talking in the beginning, I don't know if you noticed, I didn't speak about my grandfathers. I only spoke about my 2 grandmothers, my dad and my mom and my elders. I didn't speak about my grandfathers. My paternal grandfather I had never met. My maternal grandfather was 6'2", a huge man, but his heart was 62. For me, the whole world, I'm sorry, I choked, I talked. For me, the world view was sitting on his shoulders. He walked around making me sit on his shoulders. He had 7 daughters. Imagine, 1920s, 7 daughters, all 7 beautiful ladies. Amazing, brilliant. He brought them up as independent individuals. And do you know what he left behind for all of us? The connect between us cousins, maternal cousins. A huge connect. His house was so big, his heart was even bigger. With what he was just a farmer. He could take 7 daughters and the children at one time in the house and keep us all happy. Ladies and gentlemen, for me, my everlasting brand is brand MG Kurian. When my grandchildren lie on my chest, I hold them and I tell them, this is how my grandfather held me. When I tell them, I put them on my shoulder and walk, I tell, my grandfather carried me like this. This is how brand loyalty is done. This is how a brand is carried forward. Ladies and gentlemen, you have enough time. You have an ample time. When you go to sleep today, think of the new brand that you will be tomorrow. When you get up tomorrow morning, declare that brand, deliver that brand, drive that brand, and let that brand be remembered for posterity. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. So kind of you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir. What an excellent presentation. And brand value, the connect between brand and value. You said it. Usually people just say that brand value, but they don't connect these two. Without value, a brand cannot exist or sustain.
I'm open to question answers. If anybody has question answers.
Yes, sir. So next, the floor is open. So anybody, a lot of guests from your side.
Also, yeah, I have some friends who keep coming to listen to all my presentations.
So whoever has joined today in Mastermind, it became our family members. They can every day they can come and join. The timing is 9 p.m. IST every day. So you can use the same link. You can join. There will be sessions. Sometimes there will be special sessions like this, or else there will be just discussions. Sometimes we touch literature, spirituality, science and technology, many things. So please join every day. And now the floor is open for QA. Please unmute yourself and just ask the question. When somebody is speaking, please